Good day and welcome to the news roundup for Friday, February 3. I am Abigail Smythe. Among the stories in this evening's newscast, another major gun find at wharf in Montego Bay. ATM machine with more than $8 million stolen from a service station in Westmoreland. Popular YouTuber recently charged for rape of a close family member offered bail. Police to refrain from ticketing public transport operators who do not comply with child seat requirement. Members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force to be outfitted with new uniforms this year. In business, World Trade Organization calling on world leaders to strengthen trade ties as food insecurity and climate change heightens concerns. In the region, Venezuela condemns decision by the U.S. to grant licenses to countries and companies to resume taking crude oil from Caracas. Further overseas, a Biden administration task force reconnects nearly 700 children with their families who were separated during Donald Trump's presidency. And in sports, Reggae girls to travel to Australia for the FIFA Cup of Nations.
Teach them! Always make sure the message reach them!
Now for the news in detail. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, says it will refrain from ticketing public transport operators who do not comply with the requirement for child restraint systems for young passengers while a review of the law is being carried out. Under the new Road Traffic Act, motorists will incur a $5,000 fine if transporting a child in a vehicle without a restraint system. The uproar from transport operators about the provision has led the government to announce that it will be taking another look at the requirement.
The cabinet, in its retreat, took some time off to deliberate on the matter of a child restraint system being now enforced under the new Road Traffic Act and the public concerns that have been raised. First, I want to say that your government pays attention to what you say as the public, and your views inform our action.
Head of the Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch of the JCF, Assistant Commissioner of Police Gary McKenzie, says the police will use their discretion in the meantime.
Since the passage of the new Road Traffic Act and regulations, there have been concerns concerning the use of child restraint systems and the car seats, especially by public passenger vehicle operators and drivers. We also note that based on those concerns, the authorities have indicated that they are reviewing the matter. As a result of this ongoing review, the police will use their discretion in relation to the seat belts and the child restraint systems and will allow public passenger vehicles to operate as it were under the old law until that review has been completed.
The matter is to be reviewed at the next meeting of the National Road Safety Council to be held on February 9. There has been another major gun find at the wharf in Montego Bay, St. James. The discovery was made at the port handler's warehouse.
During a joint operation between the Jamaica Constabulary Force, Jamaica Custom, and our international partners, a total of 59 firearms were recovered at Freeport, Montego Bay. The firearm consists of 5 rifles and 54 handguns. There were also 101 assorted rounds of ammunition found.
Sources say the guns were sent in the name of the same person who was expected to receive last week Friday's shipment of 22 guns, which were found at the Seaboard warehouse on the other side of the free zone area. The Westmoreland police are probing the theft of an automated teller machine ATM from a service station in Darliston. The machine, which had more than $8 million at the time it was stolen, has since been recovered. However, the money has not been found. The ATM was stolen from the Jameson service station. The Westmoreland police report that sometime after 2 Thursday morning, thieves gained access to the service station by cutting through a grill on the building. The robbers then disarmed the surveillance system and dug the machine out from its location. The machine was recovered sometime Thursday afternoon on the grounds of the Darliston Great House. This is the second time in a year that the service station has been been robbed. The police are appealing to anyone with information on the heist to contact the Darlington Police Station at 876-955-0088, Police 119, or the nearest police station. Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson says members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force will be outfitted with new uniforms this year. He says the new attire will include modern security features. General Anderson says a committee was established to work out the details of the new look. He notes that the current uniforms are unsuitable for modern policing. He says one of the challenges with the current uniform is that it is not suitable to fit a body cam. Prosecutors are reporting that the major fraud uncovered at the St. Anne's Bay branch of the National Commercial Bank has now surpassed $42 million. This was disclosed in the St. Anne's Bay Parish Court during the bail hearing for former NCB Wealth Advisor Kadeen Thomas, who is accused of fraud. The court was told that an audit by the bank revealed that Ms. Thomas swindled $279,000 US, as well as $570,000 Jamaican dollars from customers' accounts. 2 additional charges of larceny as a servant and uttering forged documents were laid against her Thursday morning. The 35-year-old was offered bail in the sum of $5 million following an application by her attorney Matthew Hyatt. Mr. Hyatt says the judge imposed reporting conditions as well as a stop order, so Ms. Thomas will have to surrender her travel documents. Ms. Thomas was charged with multiple counts of fraud last month after NCB said it uncovered the alleged scheme. It is alleged that over the period January 2020 to December 2022, Ms. Thomas, who was employed to NCB Capital Markets as a wealth advisor, gained access to the accounts of several customers without authorization by submitting fraudulent encashment request forms purporting they were signed by the customers. She maintains her innocence. She is to return to court on May 10. Popular YouTuber and TikTok influencer Nashane Findlay, also known as Jabas, who was recently arrested and charged following allegations that he raped a close family member, was today offered $600,000 bail when he appeared in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court. The 28-year-old was arrested on January 28 and later charged with rape and indecent assault. The upcoming entertainer was charged following allegations that he sexually assaulted the complainant at her home on a Sunday night in September of last year. The complainant later reported the matter in December. The accused was reportedly drinking alcohol at the time of the alleged incident. In court today, his lawyer, Courtney Rowe, denied the allegations during a bail hearing before Parish Judge Jacqueline Wilcott. The lawyer submitted that both parties had an altercation 2 days before the alleged incident and that the complaint was made against his client out of malice. Findlay was subsequently offered bail on condition that he reports to the Constant Spring Police Station and that he is not to be seen in the community in which the complainant lives. Findlay is to return to court on March 3. And the judge presiding over the Wandon gang trial has signaled that if the evidence presented by the criminal network's banker and the alleged leader's personal driver is accepted, it would be sufficient to establish that Andre Blackman Bryan was the leader of a criminal organization. The former gangster, during his testimony, gave detailed accounts of several murders and shootings, including some that were not covered in the now reduced 14-count indictment. A witness who claimed he had never seen firsthand any of the murders or shootings, but at times heard the shots, testified that Mr. Bryan had ordered those killings and had assigned different roles to his cronies while ensuring that he was updated at each step of the mission. Justice Sykes pointed out on Thursday that although the evidence placed Mr. Bryan away from the scene of most of the incidents, it was clear that he was involved and played a lead role. Except for 2 of the alleged murders, the judge said it appears Mr. Bryan had an integral role either as the conceptualizer or the planner. The alleged Don also appeared to have given directions or approvals for plans conceived by others. The judge is, however, yet to make a ruling on whether he finds the evidence reliable and credible. The judge, who is in week 2 of his summation of the evidence, has so far reviewed testimonies of former gangsters turned state witnesses, civilians, and police officers. Justice Sykes was set to begin the review of the secretly recorded conversations today that were tendered into evidence. The trial of Andre Blackman Bryan and 32 of his co-accused began in September 2021. 5 have since been freed on the basis of insufficient evidence. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says progress has been made in the push to give advanced nurses prescriptive rights. Dr. Tufton says he now has a report that he will take to Cabinet for a decision. Advanced nurse practitioners have been lobbying for years for the right to issue certain prescriptions. A committee was appointed to assess the level of support for the idea. After gathering data from doctors and nurses on the issue, Dr. Tufton said the committee has found there is general acceptance for the proposal. The health minister says with the report now complete, he is hopeful that the process will be formalized before year-end. He notes that some medical doctors are against nurses writing prescriptions, but he says the practice is common in other jurisdictions and has been working well. In fact, he says this arrangement has already been happening informally in Jamaica, especially in some rural areas, and the practice should be formalized. Dr. Tufton states that legislative changes will be part of the process to facilitate these rights to advanced nurses. In business news, the World Trade Organization, WTO, is calling on world leaders to strengthen trade ties as food insecurity and climate change heightens concerns. It says it is important that countries use trade to create sustainable and resilient food systems. The WTO is promoting market transparency, keeping markets open, limiting trade restrictions, and minimizing pressure on prices. It is also pushing efforts to support vulnerable countries and to reform trade-distorting agricultural policies. The World Trade Organization says agriculture and trade ministers must collaborate on advancing agriculture negotiations before the next WTO ministerial conference slated for February 2024. In the region, Venezuela has condemned the decision by the United States to grant licenses to countries and companies to resume taking crude oil from Caracas on the condition no funds be paid to Venezuela. On January 24, the Trinidad and Tobago government welcomed the decision by the United States Treasury Department to grant a license to Port of Spain to develop a major gas field located in Venezuela territorial waters. The U.S. license means Trinidad and Tobago will be allowed to resume doing business with Venezuelan heavily sanctioned state-run oil company PDVSA, even though the Maduro regime will not be permitted to receive any cash payments from this project. In a broadcast on Thursday, President Maduro criticized the U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control, which issued the licenses, and said it is trying to dictate how to do business with Venezuela's state and private companies. On the international scene, a Biden administration task force designed to reunite children separated from their families during Donald Trump's presidency has reconnected nearly 700 children with their families. President Joe Biden issued an executive order on his first day in office to reunite families that were split up under the Trump administration's widely condemned practice of forcibly separating parents and children at the U.S.-Mexico border to discourage illegal immigration. Thursday marked the 2-year anniversary of the task force. According to figures released by the Department of Homeland Security, 3,881 children were separated from their families from 2017 to 2021. About 74% of those have been reunited with their families, 2,176 before the task force was created and 689 afterwards. Of those, 148 are in the reunification process. The department pledged to continue the work until all separated families can be found and have the opportunity to reunite with their children. And finally, in sports, with just over a week to go before the the senior reggae girls travel to Australia for the FIFA Cup of Nations, head coach Lorne Donaldson has revealed that striker Khadija Bunny Shaw has pulled out of the team. Shaw, who has been the team captain after Konya Plummer went off on maternity leave, has cited personal reasons for not making the trip. The reggae girls will travel to Australia from their respective bases on February 12 and 13. They will play Spain on February 16, the Czech Republic on February 19, and hosts Australia on February 22. The tournament is being used as a warm-up ahead of this summer's FIFA Women's World Cup, also in Australia. And that's it for your news roundup for today and for this week. I am Abigail Smythe. Have a great weekend and see you next time.
Teach them! Hey, yo, hello! Send the message and make it reach them. It's teach them. Right here, Warlord representing.
Thank you for watching. Like the video before you go. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. And remember to share the video with your friends and family. And browse the channel for more quality content. Until next time, walk good, my friends.
Teach them!